See, I was really worried I was going to be far too short, but this is working well, so that's great. Hi, everybody. I'm Sara Leggett. I'm a director of early childhood special education in Livingston. I also have the honor of being the president for the Michigan Division for Early Childhood currently. You'll see on there some connections, hopefully. Let's see here. To Central Michigan University. Currently a student, but also I get to engage in some current research that we're working on to really push forward what Alyssa was talking about too, around the development of inclusive consciousness in early childhood leaders, so all of you in the room, and being able to also explore further with some of you in the room how higher education can actually partner with our early educators in the field and our community-based organizations to help with a lot of this work. I get to help lead you into your activity at your tables where you're going to do some reflection about how your ISD, maybe within the ISD or across your county and your community, can think about how you can collaborate for a lot of these initiatives that we were talking about for birth up through 26. And I'm going to also add a layer of thinking inclusively about all of our children and our young learners under the age of 5 when it comes with having a delay or a disability. We're really working within competing systems, and so hopefully a lot of the reflection you can have is to challenge some of those mindsets and reshape our future, as Sophia was talking about. I did want to make sure that as you go into that, of course, we're all talking about research, and so table 13, it sounds like Alyssa's table. You just come on over on break or lunch, we'll keep chatting. When we do know, obviously, that preschool experiences can lead to our further success, but when we think about our young learners who have delays or disabilities, we know there's a lot of research also that says if you are asked to leave an early childhood setting, so maybe expelled or suspended, you have a higher likelihood to be dropping out of high school later in life. Compound that with having intersections of having a disability, a delay, being a minority or a different ethnicity, even more likely. So there is a direct connection, we know that. And a lot of the work that I'm interested in is learning more about how we can influence or reshape systems, but also mindsets when it comes to not just serving some, but all. So making it so this is just what we do. For all learners under these age ranges and up, we can make the spaces successful. And really, it's more when we talk about changing systems and past practices, not if we can do it, but how can we do it? And not why can we do it, but why not? So what we know about leaders, it really at the end of this slide is going to emphasize a lot of the current research that's out there. It won't surprise you, there's not a lot when it comes to early childhood leadership, especially when we start looking at special and general education leader mindsets and inclusivity. It all comes back to family and community engagement, having that high quality instruction all the way up through the ages, and thinking about culture, because it doesn't just happen. We can change lots of systems, but if we don't start talking about our mindsets and really thinking about challenging ourselves with those tough situations, particularly when we know leaders, their mindsets for inclusion are influenced by years of experience, maybe what gender, sorry, gentlemen. Females tend to have a more positive mindset when it comes to inclusivity, but we're gonna keep shaping that, right? When we think about experiences with individuals with disabilities, that can certainly influence it too, and professional development. So we hope to do more of that work. Just locally as an example, before you talk at your tables, things that we're doing in Livingston, again, never easy, never simple. There's always challenges when it comes to creating inclusive spaces and working throughout the community, but things that we're doing, for example, are we've dedicated professional learning that's shared among our general and special educators across the county. So we have everybody in the same room several times throughout the year. We're learning, how to use visuals. We're learning about how can we talk, yes, about curriculum, but how can we structure our transitions to be really successful for kids between or throughout their day. We're integrating our communications, so it's not separated. For example, for what do our early on folks receive or families receive, but how can they get that through all the communications that go to the whole community? We're also working on our funding and how to be creative and with our systems that we currently have to create positions to build capacity. So we do have an inclusion specialist as an example, who part of that role, that she's doing lots of amazing things, but we're actually providing some professional learning for community-based organizations so that they can get those professional development hours that they're required through my registry around universal supports, how to be inclusive in their classrooms, how to help make sure that even in childcare settings, our children are not being held back in one room from the 2-year-old room to the 3-year-old room because of maybe potty training or different skills or challenges. We're helping them set those up for success. We're also making sure that we're working collaboratively with our libraries. So for early on in our playgroups, we've pushed out of the ISD. That is a community setting that our families don't always feel comfortable if they have a child with a delay or disability. And we're co-planning playgroups. So they already have their phenomenally organized people in our community. In every one of our districts now, we're starting to have co-play groups with everybody, building capacity, doing the planning together so that all kids can access that setting. So those are just some of the examples of what we're doing. As a result of one of our trainings with a community-based organization, as we talked about mindsets, this was a quote that we got some feedback on, which I thought was really powerful, that we really shouldn't force a child to fit the mold. We should break the mold and give them what they need. That was their takeaway after we talked about inclusive settings for our young learners in their childcare systems and preschool. So what we want you to do now at your tables is talk about what does collaboration look like at your ISD. These are some prompts and questions as you think about all those initiatives. So push beyond K-12, how can you make things really streamlined, invite everybody to the same table, make sure that there's still high quality things happening for your early childhood folks, maybe in your school districts. What funding do you need to talk about, or how could you be creative? And I would just say, as you do this, challenge yourself to think beyond the bumps, because there are bumps. There's lots of challenges when we think about streamlining some of these things, but don't turn away from them, because I really think that those matter most. We're going to sometimes scratch our heads about how we can both influence the system, and if you're a state leader, hopefully you're here to help with reshaping those things too, but know that it's not going to be easy. That's really not the point. The point is whether you're going to keep trying to get it right despite being the only voice in the room questioning those past practices. So I just encourage you to be brave as you reflect and talk about that next.